Hey guys, it's your humble host, or Kill if you prefer. So back with another video. This article is about a month old, but because of my schedule, obviously don't have time to keep up with everything. So I did some digging. You guys remember Officer Tatum's original video in the Grand Rapids police shooting that I referenced, and then the video got taken down? Well, I found out Officer Tatum did a stream on it, and I'm going to put the link in the description below with timestamps because they also cover other topics. Anyway, in that stream, Officer Tatum had mentioned that his wife actually did some digging into Patrick Lyoya, and that Patrick Lyoya had a rap sheet, which I went back on my videos and I could have swore I never mentioned the rap sheet. We talked about Lyoya being drunk during the altercation with Officer Sure, the type of taser, use of force, but never anything that had to do with the warrant out for his arrest. I don't believe so. If this is a repeat, I apologize. And so, as I said, it's been a long few weeks, but I wanted to talk about this. And if this is a refresher, let this be a refresher because this is really important. Now, Patrick Lyoya's lawyer at the time, which I could have swore for the family was Ben Crumb, because we talked about him a little bit in the last video. But yeah, there's another one named in this article. This article was originally released April 27th of 2022. Patrick Lyoya's criminal record irrelevant. Yeah, it always is. And I'm not going to try to rehash like everything, but I do want to dissect something a little bit further and kind of show you guys, because this is my second take, and I didn't realize this the first time around, either because the audio was bad or because I didn't catch it the first time, but I did catch it this time, and I want to talk about it a little bit. But let's read this here, and then we'll kind of skip down, and I'll show you what I mean. Grand Rapids, Michigan, Patrick Lyoya's driver license was revoked, and a warrant was out for his arrest when Grand Rapids police officer defended himself during a traffic stop, state records show. An arrest warrant was issued out of the state of Wyoming on April 1st in connection to a domestic violence allegation, according to court records. So he was being accused of woman beating, pretty much. The warrant was signed 3 days before Officer Christopher Sure defended himself against Lyoya during a traffic stop in Grand Rapids, April 4th. It's unclear whether Sure Lyoya knew about the arrest warrant when he was pulled over near the intersection of Grigg Street and Nelson Avenue. An officer doesn't always have to be aware of a arrest warrant or a person's criminal history. If the pattern behavior is there, they're going to be on high alert, and once they have the person in their custody, they start running their information, and stuff will pop up. An officer does not have to be fully knowledgeable of a person's criminal past, not paid parking tickets, because at that point of time, during that specific interaction and even altercation, it doesn't matter. But it does come into play later on down the line when it goes into court, just from my knowledge and understanding. So, again, I'm not a legal expert. I've never been a police officer, so I'm only speaking from stuff I have observed from my experience as a security guard and what have you. So please do not think this is legal advice or anything of that such when it comes to this. I wanted to follow this specific case due to further training I had received textually speaking, and because it's interesting how much more I could pick up due to that training, as those type of jobs as both security officer and PD, you are constantly learning, constantly readjusting, and I will say information is your best friend, and information is key to how you go about your job. Anyway, let's continue on. Lyoya's criminal record is relevant, not irrelevant. Again, they want to make it just like with the George Floyd. Oh, well, it was irrelevant. He shouldn't have died right then and there. And that case, I'm not even going to touch with a 9-foot pole, because I even had one issue with the officer still having his knee on Floyd's neck Now, that wasn't what initially killed Floyd, to my understanding, but at the same time, the guy was already down on the ground, in cuffs, and there's no need to keep your knee on his neck. Again, I did not follow that case to the end, so I will comment no more on it. That was just my only problem that I remember with the specific footage that I had watched. Now, again, though, Floyd was a woman beater. He had a drug history. He actually had threatened to kill a pregnant woman. The list goes on. So anytime that a person of color is shot and killed, if they have a criminal history, and not all cases, because yes, I have seen cases. Frank Castell was one. There was another one to where the guy couldn't breathe and he was choked out to death. I don't believe that one had a case or a criminal history. Anyway, anytime, when and if there's a criminal history of the people of color who are, unfortunately, the altercation does escalate to the suspect's death, they always want to toss out the criminal history and pattern of behavior, and it's bullshit. I'm sorry, that's not how that works, because that does come up in court. According to family attorney Van Johnson, because Schur did not have any of that information about Lyoya, and again, they don't have to. A officer they are trained to judge based off of the person's behavior, actions, words. We talked about the use of force in the very first video covering this of mine. Is they start making an assessment how the person responds to them, their body language. Are they being compliant? Are they being passive resistant? Are they being active resistant? Are they now being assaultative towards the cop? Like, come on, dude. People can read behavior. You don't have to know even for me as a security guard of various properties, by the way that somebody responded to me by just like, hey bud, what you up to? You can't park here, or you're being awfully noisy. Got a noise complaint about you. The way that people respond to me is indicative of, okay, they already have a problem with legal authority, whether they scream at me. Again, one of my properties that I used to patrol, I had a light bar on my car. People just seeing my light bar, yellow and white, security, flashing as I patrolled in the parking lot in the dark. I had people just start screaming and yelling at me. I'm not kidding. So that tells me you already had an entanglement with the cops. You're already a legal problem. So again, I don't have to know someone's criminal history. A cop does not have to know someone's criminal history to go, I'm dealing with a suspicious individual. They may or may not have a pattern of behavior. I need to take extra precautions with them because they're unpredictable. Anyway, let's continue. Officers Schur stopped the 26-year-old because the license plate did not match the gray car the lawyer was driving, according to police. Okay, this is where his lawyer's dumb. Whatever the initial reason to stop, we know it was not a license plate because he couldn't see it. Okay, so let me explain, because I'm going to try to keep this explanation short and sweet, because I don't want to keep this video very long. So, anybody who has seen the inside of a police squad car, because security guards do not run plates. In general, they do not run license plates. Now, a police squad car has the driver's seat. You see the cage behind them. And then you see a computer right here. And that has some sort of internet connection to which has access to many, many systems and databases of information. Now, when a cop runs your plate, and they can run this without you knowing, they do not have to ask your permission to do so, is you have the make and model and VIN number that's supposed to be registered to the plate itself. You have the expiration of the plate. So if the plate is supposedly, see if the stickers fall off, the officer can run the plate and go, they're just missing their stickers, but it's still currently been registered with the State Department of Driver's Licensing. So it'll have your address, or whatever last address was registered. It'll, depending on their system, because I've seen a mix, some systems will have your photo attached, some systems won't. I've seen both. So yeah, you have all the information. Now, let me also tell you something else, because as a security guard, when I was patrolling business properties and apartment complexes, I would sometimes find PD skulking about my property in their squad cars. And the reason why is because when they're not dealing with a situation and dispatch has not given them a location to go to deal with a certain situation, they're out looking for stolen plates or stolen vehicles. So they either to my knowledge and just from my interactions, because the first time I saw PD kind of like sneaking about in their squad car on my property, I pulled up and asked them, hey, how can I help you with property security? Oh, we're just looking for stolen vehicles. Oh, did not know that was a thing you guys did. Yeah. So they either have a list, or what they do is when they get into a specific part of the parking lot, they start running all the plates that they see on the cars. And if any of them ding, they get another officer involved. So as I said, the fact that the freaking lawyer, and I swear to God, is it like getting easier and easier to pass the bar? Because most lawyers these days are dumber than crap. And I'm not saying all. But the fact that he goes, oh, well, the license plate wasn't the reason because he couldn't see it because... Oh my God. So most squad cars is going to be either a type of Toyota or it's going to be a Chevrolet, and it's like those big four-door looking things, a RAV4 or like the really chunky ones. And those usually have pretty high seats. They're usually high up. And the lawyer trying to use the reason that, oh, the cop couldn't see it, so therefore the wrong plate being on the car is not for the reason of the traffic stop. Okay, let's move on to the thing that I wanted to show, because it is transcribed down here. What did I do wrong? Lyoya asked. The plate doesn't belong on this car. Now, because I'm not going to play the video for audio and copyright, because, yeah, just no, and YouTube, no. I don't want the video struck for graphic content. You do have, when you go to watch this video, link is in the description below if you have not seen this. This is from the shot of the body cam. You had Lyoya get out of his car, ask what he did, and when Sure asked for his ID, you do have Lyoya look into the passenger going, hey, my wallet, it's right there. But here's the kicker. Lyoya closes the door instead of having the passenger throw the wallet to where the officer can see it on the car seat, or have like an open hand, both hands visible to where the officer can see his hands and go, hey, he has my wallet. Lyoya closes the car door, goes around the nose of the car, and Officer Sure tells him to stop. Lyoya does not stop, so Officer Sure has to grab him and redirect him. So at this point, he is using, I believe it's called compliance tactics, because his person is being actively resistant and not following orders and continuously to moving. So at that point, the lawyer kind of rips away from Officer Sure and proceeds to take off. And Officer Sure goes after him and tackles him to the floor. Now, as I stated before, I would have pulled out my taser and got him right in the back. But now that I think about it, it would have been a more efficient way to take him down more than wrestle him to the floor. But at the same time, it would just depend if it was seen as excessive force. Because you have somebody who's being detained. When you are in a traffic stop, you're being detained. Okay? And you take off on the officer, and you were not listening. At that point, it has escalated to where he's now going to use compliant tactics, because you're being actively resistant. So, in my opinion, he would be justified to use a taser to stop you, but because Lyoya was running away and did not have a weapon, possibly seen as excessive force, so I could see why Officer Sure tackled him to the ground. Again, each officer is different, and it depends on the situation. I just see the taser as a more efficient way, because it looks, just from all the indicators, Officer Sure was dealing with a suspicious and more than likely unprotected individual. And he was acting like he was high. So anyway, that's what I wanted to point out. Give me one sec here. Okay, sorry about that. I had to sneeze, and I'm sure you guys appreciate having eardrums. Anyway, so the Lyoya took off. He had no indication of getting the wallet when he went around the front of the vehicle, refused to stop, and Officer Schur tackled him to the ground. Now, the fact that he has a criminal history already, he has a warrant for his arrest for domestic violence, has had multiple traffic violations, and one of them does include being in the stolen car, being a passenger of a stolen car. So, and again, I'm going to put the link to Officer Tatum's streams below. I'm going to put the link to this article below. So, from what I have read, they're still waiting for the manufacturer reports of the body cam and the taser. We went over that in the last video. The Kent County attorney or prosecution, I'm trying to remember, sorry, it's been another week, is waiting for all the materials. He has seen the reports, the partial reports of what's been given to him thus far. They're trying to get the very liberal Attorney General of Michigan to take over the case, who is pro-abortion, by the way, and I forget her name, don't care. But they want her to take over because they know they're going to get a guilty verdict with her, with Officer Schur, no matter what the facts are, which is total and utter bullshit. But the county prosecution, Attorney General, is waiting for all the pieces. And like the fact that they are honing on the taser and the body camera. And the reason why they're focusing on the body camera, like I said, so if it's, because I do believe it is either going to be Axon or Axon 3 or Axon 2, is because a lot of PD, that is a very, very high quality, high efficient body cam. And the reason why I'm familiar with them, because my previous security company used them. So that's why I've known how they screw on, how sensitive that button is. And I do believe the reason why they are focusing on the body cam too is because it got dislodged off. And I think at some point it was shut off or they found it off. But I could have swore I've seen the body cam footage where they're all looking like down at it and it's still going. But as I said, the big button, there's like a huge button in these Axon 2s, Axon 3s that are very, very sensitive. So enough force, say if you hold it down for like 3 to 4 seconds, it will shut off and they will come on almost by themselves. As I talked about, I believe in my previous video, to where when I was driving in my patrol car and I had the Axon right here, there were sometimes it would just turn on by itself because the seatbelt would lightly touch that big button, and when it turns on, it kind of vibrates. So it does have a button chime to it, but you can turn that off. So I like the button sensitivity, and then at the same time, I didn't. But they're very high quality cameras, and you cannot just buy those from Walmart or eBay or Amazon. You actually have to go to the website and specifically ask for them. Now, whether or not you will actually get them, I doubt it as a civilian, and they are very, very costly, but they're also very sturdy, very well made, and the importance, especially when you're a security guard or a police officer, the importance of having a very quick button just to kind of flip it on, just kind of food for thought. You don't want to be announcing to people when you start recording them. When they see the body cam, they're already going to be nervous. But if they can't tell when it's on or off, that's actually more beneficial for the security guard and the police officer, because at that point, if a person can't tell if it's on, they're not going to act as though they're being recorded. Now, for the Axons 3s and 2s, is when it was recording, if I remember correctly, it'd be red right here because there's a little indicator light. If you had it on and you were to look down, there's an indicator light to the left. It's very small, very subtle. It does not have a bright glow to it. When you press that button, all you have to do is like double tap it very lightly. It'll lightly blink red. When it was not recording, it would be green. So, and again, because the indicator light was up top and not really well shown, you really couldn't tell. Now, if you knew what to look for on these specific models, you'd be go, hey, are you guys recording right now? Or there's also another button right here, because when these things start to get low battery, you can actually turn them completely off, and it's a switch right here in the top right corner. So you can completely turn them off. So whether or not police officers actually have them on, it can just tap that button. They're technically supposed to have them at the ready. I know as security guards we're supposed to. We were not supposed to have them switched all the way off. Now, if we had to switch them all the way off, it was because of low battery, and we had already alerted our supervisors, hey, my body cam Axon 3 is vibrating. So when you have the volume all the way down and they start to get low, they will vibrate. It's like a weird pulsating. So yeah. And then here we're kind of skipping down. The NAACP is calling on Kent County Prosecutor Chris Becker to recuse himself from the case. It claims his office is biased. Oh no, so we've already covered this with the manufacturer reports, how they want the Attorney General because she's not going to wait on everything. The group points to allegations Grand Rapids police attempted to cover up the drunk driving arrest of former Kent County Prosecution Attorney Josh Cooper in 2016. I know jack all about that, and I do not have time to get into it. We might dig into that a little bit later. The investigation was later taken over by the Kalamazoo County prosecutor because of the conflict of interest. Okay, so that's talking about the 2016. Becker said the reasoning behind the NAACP's claims, oh, you guys had a typo, that he should not decide whether Schur faces criminal charges are not relevant. What? Becker said the reasoning, are not relevant. Okay. So, any officer involved shooting decision I've had over the past 6 years is based on applying the facts, Becker said in an email to News Channel 3. Becker said he expects to begin reviewing the case next week on whether or not he'll charge Schur with a crime. So, again, I know nothing about that 2016 case. I'm not too concerned about it unless Becker was involved and there was evidence. But at the same time, the fact that he's waiting on manufacturer reports on how the taser works and how the body cam works is really, really important, because I know what's like kind of a stickler in this case is, as I said before, is the body cam being dislodged from Officer Schur's chest and being found later in the grass. And again, just to kind of point out, let me actually show you what a chest plate for these Axon cameras look like, because the Axon 2 and the Axon 3 use the exact same chest plate. The one that I used, because there's different ones, but I'm going to show you the one that I used. Okay, here we go. So yeah, that's not, no. Okay, so I found it. Give me 1 sec, because I'm trying to get this stupid image up. Gimme! You know what? Just click on the stupid thing, because you're going to drive me up the wall. Okay, so let me flip over to here. Okay, so this is the chest plate for the Axon 2, Axon 3. Some officers, some PDs are still using the Axon 2. The Axon 2 is an older model. The Axon 3 is the latest model. But they use the same flippin' chest plate. So this is how it goes on. Now, let me show you this little key part here. And actually, just to make it a little bit better, I'm going to show you the back of the Axon camera. Let me see if it shows. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes. Hey, they have them side by side. Even beautiful. That's perfect. Oh, that is a big image. Holy cow, you guys. So I'm gonna have to zoom out. Okay. So, you are actually missing part of your back. Where is the rest of your back? That's missing part of the back. Interesting. Okay, so, as you can see, because I talked about this in the last video, it kind of looks like a key looking thing to where you have the two, I don't even call those prongs. But you have the two things right here, and when you go back to the body cam, those two openings are horizontal while the pieces on the camera are vertical. So when you go to put the camera on, you first have to start it with a horizontal, make sure it's set all the way in, and then you screw up. And that's how it stays on. Now, it's not that hard. Now, granted, it doesn't just like fall off, but it's not that hard. It's not take a whole lot of pressure to kind of twist that camera sideways. And once that camera is back to being horizontal, it can just fall out and pop out. So that's why you want to secure it on properly, but because Officer was tussling with Lyoya on the ground, more than likely his camera very easily got screwed horizontal and then during the tussle fell off somewhere. So it's not that hard to imagine, it's not that hard to go, oh, because there is no latches, there's no fastening, there's no freaking strap. Now the chest plate itself will not come off because these things are a bitch to put on and a bitch to get off because they are very, very strong magnets. I don't know the pounds of the magnets, but it was annoying. And if you do not put this thing on carefully, you can actually snap your fingers and it hurts like fuck. So, anyway, I both hated and liked the chest plate of these damn things. But so yes, that is the chest plate for the Axon 2, Axon 3. Now, whether or not why this, because this does look like it's missing a piece because you could see in the thread, so let me try to find a proper picture here that actually shows you the Axon 3 having that little key back. Oh, here we go. Here's a 3D model. Not sure. Oh, nope, okay, nope, this is better. Okay, so this is, I can just tell by the shape of the box. It is an Axon 3, and of course, you just made me download the stupid image. Nope, give me the back. Good website. Okay, so sorry. Some of these websites are such a pain. But yeah, as you can see, that little key piece screws into that chest plate. Again, this is an Axon 3. The Axon 2 and Axon 3 use the exact same chest plate. Now, just to preface this, because I said, and I've stated this multiple times already, it is more than likely that Officer Schur had this particular body cam on. That is not a guarantee because some PDs still use cheaper and other types of body cams. I just know every police officer I deal with in my state as a security guard has these Axon 3s, and you will sometimes see an Axon 2 being worn. Now, yes, you can get cheaper body cams from Amazon. I've gotten my own, but these Axon 3s are very sturdy, and they charge not by magnets, but they charge by USB-C. And I do believe that's the same for the Axon 2, if I remember correctly. It's either micro SD or USB-C. The Axon 3s are definitely the USB-C because the USB-C is a newly updated charger port, which everything is going to, even Apple's starting to play with that plugin. Anyway, though, that being said, so Lyoya has a criminal history to which they're trying to toss out, they're trying to make people ignore. The fact that he has already had a history with stolen vehicles, DUI, suspending licenses, is already indicative that he is a criminal and acted as such, did not get away, had no intention of showing Officer Schur his wallet, because in that video, as I said, link is in the description of the article, once more, he did ask for his wallet, but the fact that he did not stay and the wallet was not tossed on the seat, he instead shut the car door, went around the nose, was told to stop, did not stop, and you could see Officer Schur did not pull him back, but he did grab his shoulder, and when Lyoya resisted is when Officer Schur used more force. Lyoya untangled himself and proceeded to run away. I don't know how many more times I can say this. I don't know how, but you have people who are too emotionally driven, you have race baiters, you have grifters, you have people who want to go out of their way to demonize the police. It's just as my dad has said, is people don't take police officers serious anymore. And yes, I'm throwing security guards into here too, because I've had not similar issues with this, but I've had people just the amount of bullshit recently, not with my company, I like my company, but when you get into these fields, you will find that people don't actually want you doing your job, that they actually hate you for it, and it's really fucking annoying, and it's just like, why did you hire me as your security guard again if you don't actually want me being a security guard? And it's like the police, they don't want the police being the police, which is many officers are trying to do their job. They're actually trying to protect people. And yes, lethal force does have to be used, and it is a whole clusterfuck of bullshit. Anyway, I'm going to end it here. Yes, this is an old article, but I could have swore I have never heard anything about the domestic violence. And then the multiple DUIs, suspended license, I could have sworn we have not covered this already. If this is a refresher, awesome, as this case is still going, but there has been nothing new as of yet. I wanted to cover this because I was not sure if I covered this already, and it's so important because it was a criminal Officer Sure was dealing with, but an officer does not have to have all that information to know he is dealing with some sort of jackass when said person is acting like a jackass and taking off and resisting. Anyway, that information is later important when you are after you have been arrested, is when they look into your criminal history to see if there's a pattern of behavior, to see if you have any other pending warrants or charges in other states, countries, or cities. So, well, no, countries, still countries out. But you guys get what I'm saying. So, with that being said, I'm going to end it here, and fingers crossed for Officer Sure, because it does look like in my opinion, it does look like all the evidence is on his side. He gave multiple commands, and I think was a little too patient, and he was trying to be careful, very, very careful, and it does show. He was not out to shoot Lyoya. His actions, he was very patient. The fact that he kept giving commands, kept trying not to use as much force as he needed to in that situation, because in my opinion, had officers used just a little bit more force, and again, I'm not a police officer, I've never wrestled anybody to the ground, I want to put that out there again because I have stated this in my videos, if not all of them, when it comes to my coverage on this, and both men were at their end, because you could hear heavy breathing. So that, when you look at the use of force chart, when you look at the training, how to go from open hand tactics to closed hand tactics, it does talk about if you don't have any physical training like martial arts, wrestling, boxing, if you do not have any of that training to fall back on, then you go to the next step. So, and being spent is also a dangerous situation, because for an officer, if you are getting spent where you're heavily breathing, and in this case, Lyoya was also spent too, but what would have happened if Lyoya wasn't spent, like Officer Sure was? So, anyway, food for the hot. I will end it here, and hopefully we hear something soon. And I will put the link in the description of the article and Officer Tatum's stream. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.